Captain Matt here with Captain's Quarters First Class uh, podcast from the Lighting Trade School. This is episode number 2. First one went off great. A lot of guys liked it. This is, I'm going to talk again today about starting. That's definitely where I'm going to start this podcast. It'll be a quick one. A lot of feedback from guys that are just getting started in lighting, or maybe they're a year or two in. They said there was so much value that they got out of it. So I want to talk about when I got started and also kind of what it looks like to be wrong and allowing yourself to be wrong so you can continue to go forward. So back in 2009, when I got started in Christmas, I was printing off 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper, putting it inside people's mailboxes, hanging it on their flags, handing it to people, doing anything. I was relentless, right? I knew something was going to happen. I thought people would pay me to decorate. And that's why I got started. And once I started, actually, I had a homestead.com website I was printing out. I knew there was people out there that I needed to find them. I needed the right message. And that's why I got my first 3 clients the first year. Now, 3 clients doesn't sound like a lot because it wasn't, but it was a side hustle. And it wasn't like it is today. There was no Facebook. Facebook at that point in 2009 was college only, or maybe just opening up. Right. And Facebook used to be, you had to have a college email address to join Facebook. That's how they started. So we didn't have this platform. Obviously, we did have Google. I wasn't running ads or anything. I didn't have the money for that. I was, making $40,000 or $35,000 a year. I didn't have extra money to spend on advertising. Besides, you know what? I've got a van. I'm going to drive around. I'm going to hand out flyers. And that's what I did. Relentless. Boom, boom, just nonstop. Well, with that, it gave me the fire, right? 3 clients my first year, again, side hustling, was enough to ignite this fire in my belly to know it could be done. Now, at the time, I wish there was some groups. Well, I don't know if I really do, right? There's no point in really looking back. If there was groups, would my trajectory have changed? For sure. Would it have been better? I don't know. Would I have the knowledge and expertise that I have now? I don't think I would have at the time. When I first started out, we were also hanging incandescent everything. And a LED was like super expensive and still all on the blue side of the white. So everything was incandescent. The C9 bulbs were glass C9 bulbs. And if you've ever hung incandescent C9 bulbs as a business, you know that sound I'm talking about when that roof line comes and you start losing lights. There's this shattering glass sound. Oh, it's just so painful to even think about. It's a sound I will never forget. Sometimes I hear it in my nightmares because back then when you're lost a roof line, sometimes you're hanging lights up on the roof and, 5, 6, 10 will fall down and kind of goes just when you're doing takedowns, right? As long as you start the strand of lights on the roof, it all comes down. The same thing would happen on incandescent, but it'd be, and as like all your inventory just being smashed, glass all over the place. It was horrible. So I learned a lot. Also needed like 6 lead cords in some houses going up their roof because of how much extra electricity and draw there was on incandescent C9s than there are today. Like we are spoiled today with the C9s, which are like 0.08 amps, right? We're running hundreds of feet without fear, totally different than when I got started. So, but I was able to really live that and learn it in a different way because I didn't have the options, or I didn't even know the options. I didn't know about any training programs or anything like that when I first got started. Also, if we rewind just a little bit, when I very, very first started, it was just all within a few weeks of each other. My target market was going to be like the nursing homes. That's where my Grammy had lived. And I know I had helped my Grammy because she needed help with everything, but she lived in the nursing home, the old folks home, as we often call it. And I knew that she could spend $25 to $75 to have me help her. Well, not her, obviously she was free, but people like her to put up a Christmas tree, to get stuff, out of the closet, just these little things that are so easy for able-bodied folks that can be so hard for the elderly. And in my mind, right, there's hundreds of clients in each building. If I got one, if Grammy let me do hers, and, Sally would let me do hers, and then all these people, right? So it was more about targeting. It wasn't about, oh, I'll make $25, $75 each. It'll be badass. It was more, hey, if I get into these homes, there's hundreds of people here. Instead, right, I obviously started focusing on regular residential for a higher ticket, converting one person, meaning a higher income. And I continually kind of went through that. Same thing with commercials, higher than residential, right? One client equals larger revenue. And that was the switch from the old folks' homes towards residential. But really, that also lets me dive into the fact that what is success? Because I was talking with somebody and we're talking about like failure, right? And even sometimes like I feel like a failure on certain things. But moving forward and changing your mind and transforming your direction doesn't mean failure. It means it's different, right? One could say that the Christmas guy at the time was a failure because I was going after old folks' homes and I got a big goose egg. But I was able to very quickly also target the residential, and residential was a success. It was a success in my book at the time. 3 clients. I know it's not, it doesn't compare to a lot of your guys' first years, but for me in 2009, it was so awesome. So does that mean it was a failure, or does that mean I was able to realize I was wrong, or realize things had changed and I needed to pivot to go and grow? So just because you have to stop doing something and start doing something else, don't get caught up in the fact I could have wallowed in my sorrow that I couldn't convert a single nursing home. Like I thought it'd be so easy. Now, Grammy wasn't alive. If Grammy was alive, it would have been easy. I would have walked in, made my first sale. She would introduce me to everybody, but she has been gone. She had been gone for over a decade before I started. So my point is, though, I could have just got stuck into that and just been broken and never actually gone and done more. I could have stopped there, regretted every decision, stayed working for someone, crying that I wish I could own my own business. I had to pivot and go. It's not a failure. You're allowed to do that. So I know guys that have washing companies that don't want to close down their washing company. They're trying to, oh, I'll sell it. And no one wants to buy it because there's really no value besides the equipment, right? Most of them don't have websites, logos, all that stuff, but minimal. So it's hard for them to let it go. It's almost like they have to admit that they failed. Right? A lot of these guys that we're teach, training, educate are in power washing and want to get full time into lighting. They want out of power washing into lighting full time. They have a hard time letting go of the power washing. And a lot of it is ego driven because it feels like you're abandoning your baby. It feels like, well, if I let this go, if I let this die, then I'm a failure. I have failed. I'm no good at business. Or at least if I sell it, it still lives, it's still alive. I get it. I totally understand where you're coming from, and I feel it because I seen it with the Christmas guys when I was getting, selling my clients off and not owning the business like I do now, right? I had to let go of the pride because it hurt to think like I wasn't gonna be the only mother in that situation, right? It hurt because I wasn't doing it. That was big for me, right? People could look at me as a failure when it came to that because I wasn't the guy always leading the show anymore. But if I didn't, I wouldn't have been able to pivot and go. I don't see that as a failure. I see it as a success. It is knowing when to go, knowing when to things change, your knowledge change, your interest can change. So it doesn't mean it's a failure to let something go and pursue something else. So when you're power washing, now if you want to keep power washing, still do lighting. I'm not telling you to get rid of power washing, but you know who you are. We've talked. There's a ton of you out there that want to let go of power washing or want to let go of mowing lawns and just do lighting. You've got to be able to let go and convince yourself it's okay to change. And it doesn't mean that your power washing was a failure. It doesn't mean that your lawn mowing was a failure. That doesn't mean that. It just means that a new opportunity has arisen that you're going to pursue because it's better for you in this moment in your life. Right? So push through that ego of thinking that you're a failure because you're not. Just because you pivot doesn't make you a failure. It means you're smart, you're learning, you're growing, and you're able to not stay stuck just so you can look outwardly like you're doing well, even though you feel stuck, you feel like you're in a dead end job, you feel like you're in a dead end business, you're not making enough money. It doesn't help anybody. People looking from the inside or from the outside in, they don't really matter. What matters is your life. We all get that one life to live. So if you're staying stuck, whether it's a dead end job, or whether it's a job you just passionately hate, or a business that you're doing all right, but you could do better doing something else, staying in that doesn't actually help you. And in reality, the people that you're scared to look bad in front of or to look like a failure in front of, they don't really care. Like they might notice it, but when you go and then you change, and then let's say you stop power washing, get into lighting, and then you're starting doing lighting. It's a very small time frame where people even know, and most people won't even know. They're just like, oh wait, you're not doing that anymore. So often we beat ourselves up inside over things that people truly aren't concerned with. That was a rant that was a little unexpected, but I feel like it was needed from all the guys I've talked to getting stuck for no reason. Second year, 9 clients. Now for me, from 3 to 9, that is a huge, massive growth, right? That's a huge jump. And how did I do that? Again, I did flyers. I was trying anything and everything. I believe it was the second year, maybe it was the third year. There was something, oh man, it was like Groupon. It was Groupon. And I did it on the radio, right? Where you bought $150 gift certificate and got $300 worth of install. I think that was it. I had to give half to the radio and then I kept half. So, I was selling $300 jobs for $75 in my pocket, loss leader for sure, in hopes that I would retain them and they would go and it would grow. I think I only got a handful of clients out of that. And the problem with Groupon I found was I was attracting the wrong type of clientele. Right? I was attracting people that wanted to clip their coupons. And only thing, one of them stayed 2 years and the other ones only did 1 year. So that was a huge loss because they didn't return. So I had to be willing to say this didn't work. So when they called the next year to do it again, I said, no, thank you. Right. We can all get wrapped up. I was just at a trade show and people are, there wasn't a ton of people there for our target market. There was a lot of people there that were like local homeowners and such. And this trade show was targeting really installers, Christmas light installers, and all of this. And they didn't show up. Now, other people are talking about, that they have to go back. They have to go back again next year because maybe this was a fluke. Right. So they're going to drop another few $1,000s to do that. Is that right or wrong? I don't know. Nobody knows until it happens. But what I do know is if you hold yourself into this thing of it's the FOMO, yeah, fear of missing out, you can cost yourself so much money, where else? So if you go to do a trade show, if you do a radio ad, if you do a TV ad, and you do not get the results, don't feel obligated to try again. You can try again. Maybe the messaging was wrong. Maybe something was wrong. The audio was wrong. The visuals were wrong. But don't feel obligated to try again. Be willing to say, whew, that was a mistake. I'm going to go do something else. Like I spent $16,000 on a 15-second TV commercial 1 year for gemstone lights. And I got, a goose egg out of it. Maybe I got one that was, I don't even know if they panned out. Well, regardless, as it cost me, I lost a ton of money on that. Now, of course, the TV salesperson kept coming back to me wanting to sell me more. And it's hard, right? You're like, well, yeah, I want it. You see these other guys winning. You see the car dealerships and the lawyers doing it. And they're clearly winning or they wouldn't keep doing it. But it's very easy to get caught up into, yeah, of course I want to do it, right? They send you a bottle of champagne and, you feel included. You feel like it's an ego boost when you hear your commercial on the radio or you see your commercial on the TV. Aunt Sally calls you and says, oh my gosh, I saw your commercial. But you have to be able to say, I received 0 results. I lost money on this, even though I liked how it felt. I have to be willing to not do that anymore. So obviously I haven't done TV since then personally. Now, again, my messaging could have been wrong. Everything could have been wrong. And TV can work great for a lot of people. For me, radio has worked wonders. And that's why I spend a lot of money on radio. And I have guys that tell me they will never do radio again. Right. So really what you want to see is be willing when you're testing these things to grow, is be willing to stop. It's not always just throw money, more money, more money. Like if your Google ads don't work, don't throw more money at it. If your Facebook ads aren't working at, $5 a day, don't try $50 a day. If your TV commercial is not hitting, don't just throw more money at it. If your radio ad's not hitting, just don't throw more money at it. When I first started, I had to get out of the office. Yes, marketing is important. I used to own a marketing company, super important. I'm not saying it's not, but you have to be willing to get out there and really grind, knock on doors, talk to people, let them know what you're doing to get a word about, get a buzz going, right? Ads are great, but when you're starting out, like I was bootstrapping, I didn't have the money to drop $500 to $1,000 on Google ads all the time and Facebook ads. Of course, again, Facebook wasn't a thing. I'm talking about now. So be willing to just hit the ground. I've talked to so many guys who don't go out there and just try it. Right? Like, especially with landscape lighting, when we can do demos. I was talking to someone who was like, I don't know 20 people. I said, that's bullshit. Of course, you know 20 people that will allow you to do a free nighttime demo. We get these things in our heads where we uh, judge every single person we know. Like, well, I know Tim's not going to want to do a demo, because he's, works at the rail yard and I don't think he likes lighting. It's silly. Like, get out there and start. There's nothing worse than when your cousin is talking to you or you visit your cousin and they have landscape lighting that they just got installed. And you're like, well, why didn't you call me? And he says, I didn't know you did it. That has happened to me. And I know plenty of other people, whether it's car sales or anything else. If you're not out there talking, they say the loudest person wins. You're not annoying. You're trying to feed your family. You're trying to grow. You're trying to succeed. People need to know what you do. If people don't know what you do, they're never going to use you and they're never going to refer you. So even if you're starting out, you're doing jobs at cost, just trying to get some momentum going, or you're doing free nighttime demos, whether you think Billy is qualified to purchase landscape lighting through you, one, I found you probably don't even know if that's accurate. But even if Billy can't afford you and will never use you, there's a great possibility that one of his friends, family, somebody he knows in the future, whether it's now or a month from now or a year from now, may need you. He might be at a party where someone's talking about lighting it. Oh my God, I know a guy. He came over and gave me this free demo at night. Like, I didn't actually use him, but holy shit, this is awesome. You should give him a call. So get out there, get on the grind, and be willing to make activities happen, right? Don't just get stuck at your desk. Yes, don't get just stuck in that you need more money for advertising. Advertising is important. You do need money for it, but get out there, talk to people, knock on doors, be willing to, work for what you wouldn't normally work for just to get activity, especially when you're starting. No one knows you. No one cares about you. I don't mean that negatively, like they don't like you as a person, just they don't care about you because they don't even know that you do lighting. They don't know that you are an option until you get out there and start telling the world that you are an option and why they should give you a chance. All right. I'm Captain Matt. This has been Captain's Quarters First Class, episode 2. Hope you all loved it. Hit me up. Find me on Instagram. Talk to you guys later.